Hey guys, Jeremy here with BleepinJeep. Today we're going to groove a 30-inch TSL swamper. The goal for today is I need to groove my tires on my Jeep. They're getting kind of worn. I probably should just replace them, but I want to groove them a little bit, and we're going to show you how to do it today. We're going to talk about a couple different methods from different tools that we can use. We're not going to bust out the chainsaw, but we're going to talk about people using it. But today we're going to use a really cool, expensive tire grooving device, and we're going to groove my tires, give them a little bit of a fresh edge, and get ready for some wintertime love. BleepinJeep is all about off-road content and how-to videos. If you like this video, make sure you hit subscribe and the like button. Let's get started, guys. So if you're not familiar with grooving a tire, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make these gaps either bigger, deeper, cleaner to where the edge is sharper, or like right here where this lug is kind of getting worn off. This is the outside point of the tire. The inside lugs here are a lot bigger. I'm going to take and cut a little bit off of here to try to give this more of an edge as you see on these other tires right here. And that's what grooving is. The first thing that you should do anytime you want to groove a tire is get you a pencil, some kind of clay marking tire pencil thing. And if you want to get real aggressive and take a whole lug out, then you're going to want to do that. And you want to put your pattern if that's what you want to do, and you want to mark them. So that way you don't screw up. Today, I'm going to go through the middle of all these. So I probably don't have to mark those because I know I'm just going to go right through the middle with a bigger bit. Now, years ago, these tires were grooved a little bit right here, and that's a factory mark there, and then this is a grooved mark. So you can tell the size difference a little bit. This one isn't quite as deep. There's a ledge right here. I want to take this all the way down to that flat right there and come all the way across with it and open this gap up a little bit here and give it a cleaner, more crisp edge. And the same thing here, it'll make it a little bit deeper so the tire will have a little bit more bite. And then right here on these small lugs, on all these right here, maybe not the inside, but definitely on the outside here, I want to cut away this little portion right here on the tire the way it has a nice edge to it. And that's what I'm going to try to do, and that's the goal for today's grooving. I got 4 of these tires to do, so let's get started. So we're going to talk about a couple different techniques on how to groove your tires with a couple different devices. But first, we're just going to start off with the badassery, best freaking tire grooving thing ever. So this one right here is a Rima Tip Top Rubber Cut. This is a giant, basically you can think of it kind of like a welder in a sense. It's like a stud welder if you know anything about auto body. But what happens is when we push this right here forward, the light comes on right here and this thing's ready to go. And this blade immediately gets hot, and it's just like a hot knife through butter, and we just shove it right through the rubber. And that's how we're going to do it today with this super awesome tool. This tool is fairly expensive, so the average person is not going to have one. I don't own this tool. I borrowed it from a good friend of mine that does have it, and we're going to knock it out. And the reason I wanted to use it is because all the other devices, and they make tire groovers that are a lot cheaper. They're about 80 bucks, and you can do your tires with those. You can get them at any race shop or like dirt track and stuff like that. And using that little device is great, but it's very time consuming. It's a lot slower than this. So why groove your tires in a sense? You can groove anything from your lawnmower tires that are getting kind of bald, your tractor tires, something like that. If it has a good carcass, you can do it, you know. Semi tires back in the day, I call it back in the day, people still do it, I guess. You know, they still groove some deeper grooves into them. I'm sure it's not rated for DOT, so that's probably not what you'd want to do there. But lawnmower tires, you know, street tires, road course stuff, when people, you can get tires that are blank and you just cut your own grooves into them for like dirt tracking and stuff like that. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who know more about that than I do. But that's where all this is. So this is not just an off-road four-wheel drive thing. You can use it for all kinds of stuff. So here's how this tool works. As you push this down, it engages. This little blade here is a little beat up because what we're doing here is we're just cutting the tips off these right here to try to square them up a little bit. And then I'll change this back out and we'll do across the centers right here with a new fresh blade. So let's get started with this one. We're turning these tires into digging tires, boy. that's what we're doing. Just taking these out, trying to get ourselves a little bit of a crisp edge. This grooving iron, anything that's not in the rubber, gets a little hot because it's nothing to cool it down. So just because we're cutting this edge right here, the blade is getting a little beat up, but ain't no big deal. The blades aren't very expensive. They're not expensive at all, actually. So, but that's all I was wanting to do right here, and you can see there's a nice crisp edge right there. It's winter time. I said these lugs are really worn down. Tires don't have a whole lot of life left in them for what we do, so they probably should be moved on to the next owner, but I'm gonna rock them through the winter for sure, and we'll go from there. Let's put a new bit on here. Whenever you put these blades in, make sure these blades are sharp on one side, so make sure you put that in the direction that you're going with for sure. You definitely don't want to put your chainsaw chain on backwards, if you know what I mean. Speaking of which, we're going to have to fire that thing up here in a minute, huh? Do some grooving with the chainsaw. Totally badass. Oh, it'd be so scary. Could you imagine taking a chainsaw to your deal? So once you get in there, just get this thing where you want it to be roughly, and then set your depth however you're going to do it. I'm going to match it to the tire here, and then you just tighten those two down, and that's how we do it. Very simple. It looks good. It's about the depth we want right there. So let's get that in there. I like it. Very simple tool. Wouldn't say it's the easiest thing to do in the world, but it's not the hardest. Oh, these are gonna be some digging tires now, boy. Woo! Watch out, muddy trails, here we come. Look at all that rubber. So, look at all that. Woo! There's a big old pile. Giant pile of rubber. Tire looks great. So, some of you might say, why are you cutting rubber off of a good tire? Well, it's just to get those good, clean lines like that right there. And so, for the winter time, all the digging in the mud that we got to do, it's going to help out. So, that's what I chose to do. And I've grooved tires in the past and put cuts right through the center of these to help try to gain traction and such like that. So there's all kinds of different ways and techniques. And if you got loose dirt hills or muddy slopes, or if you're going for rock or whatever you're trying to do, if you're trying to gain lateral traction, you might put some lines in here, do all kinds of different things. So, but we're there. So now to talk about all the other options that you can do. So I finished my first tire on these little bitty 30-inch TSLs. So now that I'm done with this tool rocked. It did really good. It's still at work, but way better than a lot of the other tools out there. We had a little bit of a learning curve with the blades on the bottom. We had it turned up a little too hot at first. They were kind of getting red and getting fragile and bending and breaking and stuff like that. And then we figured out we just had it too hot. So turned it down and worked way better. And I was able to push even harder on it because it wasn't cherry red and I wasn't bending them. So I was able to actually shove it through there a little better. So I knocked the tire out pretty quick after that. I did work up a sweat on the first tire, but it is done, 3 more to go. So let's talk about some of the other options on some of these other tools that we have to groove your own tires if you want to get, creative. Again, it doesn't really matter what you do. If it's working, you can do it. A lot of off-road tires have a really great carcass underneath the rubber there, so as long as you don't get into that, you're good. So, got a couple options. Tool number 1, chisel. Definitely not going to go through the tire on its own. But one guy we saw, he did this with a torch. He just had a torch sitting there, hold it over the torch, bring it back, and shove it right through his tire and grooved with that. Now, this is a little bitty one that might not work all that great because you might want bigger. I don't really know what you do. I don't think I'd ever do that. But you could go sideways and then flat like that and just cut you a little piece off of a lug, or maybe you just carve it like that or something. I'm not sure, but that's one way to do it. Heat a chisel, force it through there. That'll work.
You don't seem so sure.
Not the way I would do it. So, option 2, hole saw. Yeah, that sounds sketchy too, doesn't it? So, let's talk about a hole saw. Almost anything, if you sharpen it, it's going to work. Like, you get real creative if it was sharp. You want this to have like a knife edge. You don't want this to have any kind of teeth or anything like that. So, it's going to bind up and rip right away. If it's got any kind of teeth on it, it's going to force it. It's not going to be fun at all. But if you sharpen this guy and put it in a drill and put it on here and took this pilot drill bit out of here, and you had this thing in there and it was ready to go, and that was nice and sharp, you could put this in a drill and you could just force it right through there. And this might work depending on the tread pattern. Like if it was an ATV tire or something with the lugs are even farther apart, like a big motor tire, you know, this might work really well. Here, I would have trouble getting it down because of this lug. But then like right here, I could get it through this lug pretty good. You see how it just kind of works perfectly there. But if you'll sharpen that to a razor, you know, it could work. Maybe you want to just plug you a hole out of the middle of it. Who knows? Get creative. When you get to the point of grooving a tire, normally you're kind of getting to the end of the tire's life anyway, normally. Unless you're like competitively racing and stuff like that. So option 3, which is a really good option. A lot of people do this, and it works really well. Again, you must take it to a knife edge. So grind the teeth off of it, get it really sharp. This little multi-tool right here works phenomenal. You turn it on, go sideways, cut right through, come back, cut right through. You can cut you a V in it if you want to, which I don't think you'd ever really want to do that because you're trying to go with a nice crisp square edge, but there's all kinds of options. So if you want to take out every other lug, you just cut them out a couple times like that. Maybe chop it like this, and you just start working, and rubber just starts popping off, and you come right through. These work really well. A lot of people do use these as a grooving iron, but remember, the key is to make it razor sharp. And then we're going to get back to the same thing again. Razor sharp. Sawzall. Everybody loves working with a sawzall. Sharpen that thing up, just like a fillet knife. When you get done grooving your tires, you can go out and fillet you a big old salmon or something. But sharpen that thing up, and you can come in here and work it and cut it and do that whole deal if you wanted to. Again, it's pretty big and cumbersome, so I don't think it would be my first choice. But depending on the type of mud terrain tire you got, like a lot of those tires are big, pointy, like tractor tires. You could easily get this in there. Like if you were working with something big, you just saw right down, go right down twice, and then go in there and work it. You know, you could pop something right out of there. But again, I think if I was going to do it, I would go with the multi-tool if I was going to pick any of these tools other than the awesome grooving iron or a traditional grooving iron. So a traditional grooving iron is only about 70 bucks, 80 bucks, and they're not very expensive. They work good. Now you want to go most extreme, the fastest possible way to groove it, you bust out the chainsaw. And make sure you video yourself because it might get real sketchy quick. But I would never do this because I think I like my tires too much. But if I just didn't care about my tires and wanted to give it a shot, it would be fun. Even though I think I can operate a chainsaw pretty good, I still wouldn't want to do that. But you take that thing, think about it. It'd be pretty easy, man. It'd be like ice sculpting. It'd be like Christmas time. You draw a little snowman in there, a little something like that. It'd be great. Be there forever. Maybe we should carve BleepinJeep into the tire with the chainsaw. But I ain't doing that. I'll leave that up to Matt if he wants to do that one day on his own tire. But that's a couple different options on how to groove your tires. Again, I don't know if what I did here is the best thing to do, but it's what I wanted to do. I'm going to give it a shot. And you know, I'm at the end of the life on these tires. They look like they have a lot of tread, but if if you compare them to the 42s on the Comanche behind me, you'll notice these are getting down there pretty good. So put a little extra life in them. Maybe I can get a few more months to a year out of them, maybe something like that. I don't know, we'll find out. And but that was my opinion on some tire grooving 101. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed watching the tire grooving session that I did here. Hopefully it gives you an idea to possibly do some tire grooving of your own on some older tires, or maybe you got a brand new set that just isn't performing the way you want to. So keep in mind, don't go too crazy if you're gonna be driving them on the road. You may make a lot more noise doing stuff like that, and it may get out of balance if you get a little crazy trying to do that. But again, I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you liked it, hit the like button. Also, leave us a comment below if you have any ideas or know of an awesome tool that would work better for what we're doing. This little tire groover here was great, but don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks, guys.